leader 5 minutes. That is it. That
Mm,
conversation should not last any longer than that. Step three, if
mm-hmm.
that still doesn't work, I would say, yeah, you will need to reach out to your HR business partner, but come to your HR business partner, obviously with the things that you've written down, but also go to them. What's your objective? What do you want to get out of it? What's the goal? And talk to him or her through that. And I think once you talk your HR business partner through that, then their mindset is going to begin to look at you probably a little bit different. That this person is someone who came to me, with a strategy, and it could have been, it was very tactical what you did, but you have a goal and an objective, right? And HR business partners love that. Like, I love when a hiring manager can come to me and it's tactical and it's strategic and they have the objective and the goal. Like, I love that. Like, half the battle is done because now I know what I need to do, right? It works the same way for an employee, the same
Yeah.
exact way.
Yeah, yeah. Should someone just call, just say, "Hey, London, hey, this is Britt. I just want you to know that I'm on Jim's team, and I just want you to know who I am." Do you have time for that?
Yeah, and often if it's a new business partner, I have done that. And it wasn't, there was nothing wrong, right? But I was able to say, "Hey, you're a new business partner for the team. I know you support, our team from an XYZ perspective. I have an idea about something. I haven't shared it with my leader, but it's just an idea about something. And it could be something that you want to do, right? Even if it
Right.
gets back to your leader, like, hey, so and so reached out. Oh gosh. Because the first thing the leader's going to say, why did they reach out to you? Well, I
Yeah, yeah.
knew they wanted to talk to me about an idea they had and get my thoughts from an HR perspective. Like, maybe do I see any risk associated? Do I see, would any assistance be needed? Like, so I can see an employee going straight to an HR business partner sometime without necessarily going to their leader, especially if you have that relationship, right? And I've had
Yeah.
employees do that with me where they've said, London, I want to talk to you about something. And there wasn't anything wrong. They wanted to talk to me about something like, hey, I really feel empowered to do this. I don't feel the need to go through my manager with this, but do you see any issues or what are your thoughts?
So
I
kind of
love that.
strategize.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
much strategizing. I love that because at the end of the day, if that does move forward, the first person they're going to say is, "Hey, did you reach out to the business partner, or do you want me as your leader to reach out to the business partner to discuss this?"
Right.
And if I'm the leader and you
Right.
tell me, "Hey, I've already discussed it with the business partner, we're good," then I'm really looking at you like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
And there's
You
nothing
kind of.
wrong, and we're talking about a team win,
Yeah.
possibly a team
Yeah.
win. Like, we can all celebrate, so it can
It just.
work to
It,
your
yeah.
advantage.
Yeah, it can empower you when the hey situation, like hey. Now let's talk about the opposite of a hey situation, where
Absolutely.
I, this person needs some empowering words, and we talked about that word earlier, risk, and so I
Yes.
want to circle back there, and I really want to talk about risk and how we can use that word to empower us in those conversations that we need to have, or even to know how to use and understand what a risk is. And I think we all know, that's a risk, but it's kind of different in that world, and I think we forget to use that word, and we've talked about it. Explain it to me. It's real interesting.
Yeah. So when you think about risk from a HR business partner perspective, or a business partner in any facet, the number one thing, of course, what's the risk to the organization, and how can we measure that risk? Because sometimes the risk is financial, sometimes is representational, and sometimes it could be an attrition risk, right? So, how do we measure what this risk could be to the organization? And the last one, sometimes people will consider like engagement can be a risk as well. Um,
Hmm.
I'll give a really quick example. So this happened with one of my employers, and I had to really have a culture shift type of conversation because of the risk. In the risks
Okay.
took place during talent reviews, in succession planning. There was a young lady who was performing, I mean, just knocking it out the park. She went out on maternity leave. She had a baby, and her leader said to me during talent reviews, in succession planning, and said, "Hey, she's awesome, but she's been gone for 4 months. And the first thing that hit me was, describe gone. What do you mean gone?
Yeah, right.
I'm
Right,
one of
right,
those
right.
HR folks. I need you to tell me, like, get very elementary with me. That's just how I operate in some cases. And he said she's out on the leave, and I said, but how long has she been here? Like, what was her performance while she was here? And he described it very adequately. He had, of course, his notes. He had all of her recent performance appraisals. And I said, so if she was here for 12 months, you would give her this rating. And he said, yes. And I said, okay, well, we have a number of risks here that we need to address. One, you're telling me you're penalizing her for being out on a leave of absence. And he's like, no, it's not because she had a baby. Yes, it really is because she had a baby. You're telling me she was here 8 of the 12 months and she's not getting the rating of the work that she performed during those 8 months because she had a baby. Um, that was red flag for me. Number one. Red flag number two was this employee works in California, and for most people, if you don't know, California is very strict when it comes to parameters, when it comes to
Oh, yeah.
being a mother being out on leave or a father being out on maternity or paternity leave. So we have that risk occurring, right? Um, the third risk that we have is the young lady was a manager. So my fear was this rating will not only have an impact on her dollars and cents, but when she comes back, is there an attrition risk because she is performing? She's a high performing employee. So
Hmm.
there are a number of risks at play here. So what I had to do as a business partner, I started looking through all of the individuals who were on leave or who had taken a leave under this leader and what their ratings were. And I had to escalate that to not only that employee's manager, which was an executive, but also to my HR leader, simply because there could be a risk, and this risk could fit a number of different buckets, right?
Sure.
So having the conversation with the leader, it went well. He understood there were some additional trainings, and some may say, hey, why did you take it up? Why did you take it to his leader? Because if this is a culture within an organization, this is a risk for the organization, not just the organization as a whole, but this organization, this small subset within the bigger group. So I wanted to make sure, A, you're aware. B, I want to make sure this is not something that extends outside of this team, and isn't a culture of penalizing individuals who have taken a leave of absence within a year, especially those who have been performing.
Yeah. Can I go? Can I say to my manager, is this behavior that I have a risk to the team?
If you
Can
want
I
to say,
use that if I'm in a one-on-one with my manager and maybe, we're having, maybe it's getting to a point where there is it's getting hot, our conversations feeling like it's getting uncomfortable,
Mhm.
Can you say that? Can you say,
we
"Hey,
we throwing
sir,
pots and pans between the manager and the employee. Let's keep it
yeah,
real.
how that goes back and forth. You're being respectful, of course.
Right.
We're being respectful, but I don't have the language. I don't have the words to say, listen, I am feeling like you're not listening to me or you're not feeling where I'm coming from. Can you ask that question? Like, what am I doing on this team that could be possibly a risk? Or let's say, even better, we know those low performance reviews and you go one on one. Can you use it then and just say, did I get this rating because I was a risk to the team? Or how could you use
No,
the word
no,
that
I
way?
wouldn't. I wouldn't use it in that sense. I think trying to use the word risk
Is it
from an
because you're
employee
nice? Is it
standpoint.
because you're nice? Is it
No,
because you're
no, no,
nice?
no, no, no. I am nice, but no, I would. I wouldn't use the word
See,
risk from an employee perspective. If I'm trying to get my leader's attention, what I would say is, I would say to the leader, I think we have a disconnect, and I'd like to really do a deep dive and understand from your perspective what it is that I may be missing, that I may not be
Mm.
meeting what your expectations, right? And I want you as my leader, can we have that conversation? And then during that conversation, I would say, hey, me as the employee, I want to make sure that you have an understanding of what it is that I think that I am doing and how my work impacts and my behavior, right? Impacts the team, my customer, because that's very important. And where do we go from there? How do we dissect our differences? And I think if you look at it that way, without going into it from a perspective of, hey, I've done this, and this, and you still don't get it, is I feel like there could be a risk at play here. I think then your leader would be probably looking at you like, "What did you just say to me?" the, there's going to be a risk, all right, but I'm sure it won't be at the leader with you having that type of conversation.
So it could come off hostile.
Right.
It could
It
come
could
off a
come
little.
off hostile, and then your leader then could possibly go to that business partner that you feel like you've developed that relationship with to say, hey,
Right.
I had a conversation with her and she was hostile. Like she came in with, what's the risk to me not getting the rating that I think I deserve? Wait a minute. We don't want to do that. But
You don't want to do that.
what we want to say, and this is one of my favorite A words, and I think this is one of those A words that we as employees don't always utilize for ourselves. How do you advocate for yourself in those
Mm-hmm.
moments where your HRBP or your leader can't advocate for you? How do you do
Mm-hmm.
that? And one of the ways that I think you do that successfully, you have things written down, right? Like
Oh, yeah. Paper
you
trail.
have things documented. You have past performances, right? That you can look at and say, hey, I've continued to do some of the things that even was noted here or that you mentioned here. Do you, as my leader, do you not feel that that has been happening? And if it hasn't been happening, what am I missing? Like you don't want to put your leader in a position where they are like, oh my gosh, I feel caught. You want to put them in a position where they feel empowered to say, you know what, you're right. I may have missed this and I notated it and I noted it here and you're doing it and I really may have missed it. Let me own that and let's continue this dialogue. And in some cases, it may mean like, hey, for the next month, can we meet for 15 minutes? We'll need 30. Can we meet for 15 minutes? Because I want to make sure that I'm setting you as my leader up for success. Because remember, when you're setting your leader up for success, setting yourself up for success. So
Right.
you definitely want to be your own advocate in those moments. And then if all else fails, like it truly is not changing, then you may want to go to your HRBP and say, hey, I've tried this, and I've tried this. My goals and objectives, my objectives and my goals were this,
Yeah.
and I don't feel as if I'm being set up to complete them based on, just my experience, not my feelings, but my experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this has been amazing, London. I love that. I think we could go down a whole rabbit hole on this, on just
Just on this
that,
alone,
and
yeah.
just that little piece. We could go deep. But the reason why I wanted us to go as far as we did is because not one time did I hear you say AI, artificial
Not
intelligence,
one
and
time.
all of those questions and everything we talked about. There was no AI.
Mm-mm. And there's a reason
No.
for that, right? When you think about HR and you think about AI, just as we said earlier, AI is not having those conversations, right? AI can predict certain things. It can write docs that you may need. It may provide examples and all of those great things when it comes to HR, right? But AI is not having a conversation with the leader to say, hey, John is done an excellent job and his performance has been this. Are we setting him up for the next steps? Now, AI may predict that and say, hey, John, based on what AI has received, John has been performing and we think he's going to do really well. And you may get that in the data, but then I need to
Mm-hmm.
know, what are John's strengths? Where are the areas that John is really excelling? Who can I pair John up with in department XYZ, where he can get that mentorship, that coaching, those stretch
Right.
assignments?
Right.
AI isn't going to feed me those stories or those places.
Right. Right. I like that because I think because everyone's so excited about this right now, they're leaping over that. They're saying, "Hey, the data's going to show me this. The data's going to show me that. The data's going to show me that. I'm going to give this data to the manager, and then I'm going to leave it up to them to then move forward
Hmm.
with just the data."
Yeah.
And that's when we see the inequality there. So that's when I go back and I ask you, is it the best thing for us? I know it creates the speed and the efficiency in one way, but don't don't we lose something?
You
Haven't we lost something?
I like this is my other favorite A word. I think you lose and gain the agility, right, of AI, because when you think
Mm,
about AI and you think about you yourself as an employee, you think of all of us as employees, it becomes we have to be agile, we have to be adaptable, we just have
okay.
to be, right? But that still doesn't mean I can't get the unfiltered story, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the data produces just that. But I need to use the data in order to tell the story, right? Because
Right.
again, if we go back to what we said earlier, we see, 10 employees, and 8 of the 10 employees that are knocking it out of the park are all men, and I only have 2 women, then it becomes okay. What's the story here? Yes, I have some predictive information that's telling me that maybe 2 is accurate, but it doesn't mean that I can't ask questions. And I think that becomes the part where you rely so much on AI as a business partner, and you don't utilize or don't ask questions or don't look for the story. That's the disconnect. And I think
Right.
sometimes you lose that personal touch, right? You lose that. And I think to your point earlier, right? Potentially employees may see that, right? Employees may
Yes.
feel that, like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
I know this was AI, or I know this is, AI is around, you're at work, you can put in a search queue how to do this and something pops up, right?
Right.
But when you think about those stories that are underneath all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when you take talent and performance management, when you take onboarding, when you take the employee engagement, when you take okay, what's next for this employee? What training is next? What classroom is next? Whatever it is, what's next, right? Is that person
Yeah.
going to be able to learn all of that via AI, right? Can
Yeah.
you can you
Yeah.
really learn some of your leadership skills? Will all of that be learned through AI? Will you be able to learn all your management skills through AI? And I go back to I believe it was the CEO of Lowe's, right? He's putting in all this money in workers as it relates to like manufacturing and doing some of the other jobs, right? And he said very,
Mhm.
very clearly, and it's a very elementary thought, but it's the right thought. AI can't shovel my snow.
No.
AI is not cleaning my house.
Right. Right.
AI isn't, at least not right now. I can't ask AI to build my pergola out back and extend my patio. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if we get to that point, I think I'm gonna have some questions.
Robots. Let's
Right.
become
They're
robots.
robot like,
Those
is
robots.
AI measuring, if it rains, how many feet does the sub, level of the house, the dwelling of the house, what is that? All those scientific, like those things that a
They
contractor would know, right?
do it. They do it. I mean, they're trying to build it all in there. They're trying to, and I feel very much, and you'll hear it in so much that I say, passionate about the human experience. And when we put so much of the
Yes.
AI in there, and we lean so heavy on it, thinking that it's going to be the cheaper way to go. Right? Because now I don't have to have all of these people. I mean, people are being eliminated. Your jobs are being taken away, and the answer is an algorithm rather than my
Yeah.
family. So I know that's another subject for another day, but we get passionate on that one because it's just like I don't understand. I'm so confused. I'm just confused. So
Yeah.
design the
Yeah.
perfect
The personal touch has
AR experience,
always
HR
it's got to
experience
be
for
there.
everyone. London, it's got to be there, right?
Say it again. I'm sorry, I
Because
didn't hear you.
it has got to be there. Okay, I said the human experience
Yeah,
has got to be there.
the personal
That human
the
touch.
personal touch. Yeah, the personal experience, the human touch, it most certainly has to be there. I think if it's not there, I don't know how society would operate without human feeling. And I know I use the F word, but emotions. When I think about, even when I think about, employee engagement, right? Those are feelings, those are emotions that people put out on
Those
a
are
survey to talk
feelings.
about, right? Those, and that becomes
Yeah.
important.
I I think we're just gonna
So
miss so much. I just think we're gonna miss so much, London. I'm sorry for talking over you, but I just think we're gonna miss so much.
no, no, you're fine. Yeah, I think there will be some
No,
things that will
I was saying I
be
think
that will be missed. I agree. I think there are going to be some things that will be missed. I think there will be. Um, my hope is you'll have business partners and employees and leaders who still value the human touch and still value the personal touch, because that's something that you won't be able to get away from. And I don't like to use this analogy, but I'm not sure how you think about losing a loved one. I'm not sure
mm,
how AI factors into something like that, right?
well, it
Um,
can't. It just can't.
right.
You're
It
speaking of
can't,
like
right?
bereavement or something like that. Hmm.
Right. It can't. And I don't ever want to get to a place where something like that happens to an employee and AI becomes a factor in sending you a message like, I'm sorry to hear about your loss. I, that to me would be a level of wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. We've had this conversation before. And let me tell you, everybody who's listening, the last time London and I had this conversation, he really talked me into it. He sold AI. And so I was just like, maybe. But I think today, I feel like I won today, y'all. I feel like today, I feel London conceding just a little bit, y'all, in saying that, just a bit, that it's about the human, it's about the heart. It's about
Yeah.
person to person. And when we forget that, and especially in HR, when you forget that and we start just using algorithms and data and based on the data, then what's the point? What's the point of
Yeah.
even trying?
Yeah. That's,
So I
yeah.
feel like I won today.
That's why, yeah, that's why I always say the data is important. The data is important. The data is important absolutely all day, because I need the data to tell my story. So
Right.
it is most certainly important, but you have to use it to tell your story. And oftentimes those stories are that human touch, that personal contact,
Yeah.
because if you lose that, especially in talent management, if you lose that piece where it just becomes what did the data say, and we're just going to use whatever that algorithm is, and who cares about the story? And then we really, I go back to that R word. I think you really set yourself up for some risk. I think about this is another A word. I think about the company Anthropic, right? I don't know if you heard in the news, right? So there's been some limitations around their AI, right? That they're like, we're not going to put this type of AI out there because we don't know what it's going to do.
Right.
Very real, right? At least we have a company that's saying, we're not putting this AI out there because it could do some irreparable harm. So you think about that for a minute, like, wow, we're talking
Yeah.
about harm
Yeah.
in AI, right? In a different facet, but you could take the
Hmm.
same application over to, when you think about talent and performance management.
I think it's useful, and the data can be useful, and in a quick way to gather that data. But again, the human being, that human spirit, we cannot lose that, London. We gotta keep it going. So thank you, London. This was good information. This was good sharing. It was
Thank
good
you.
um learning to use the words, learning how to empower yourself, that that AI, artificial intelligence, it's here, but it's you have to use it. You have to be smart, right? You have to be smart when you use it. And I think just that awareness and not being afraid of it. I have met so many people who are like afraid of it, and I want to tell all good HRBPs like London out there, or recruiters, or
Yeah.
or who are in, as long as you're leading with your heart, and this is just coming from Brent Miller, as long as you're leading with your heart, it will lack that confusion because you're going to hear the story behind it, if the story
Right.
makes sense. Now, there's some
If the
people out
story
there who
makes
make
sense.
stories up.
Right.
If the story,
That's another key word. If the story makes sense, right? The story has
it
to make sense. Yeah.
story has to make sense, but I can be your friend. I will try and embrace it to the best of my ability. But I just want to thank you, London. This was an intriguing conversation. It was good. We're going to come back again. I put a little teaser out there in the world from our previous little mishap podcast where
No worries.
yeah, where we talked about, no, but there are just so many confusing things that we can talk about. I mean, it's all, but I thank you so much, London. You have given us so much again that I as I listen, I've just got all these, what are they, nuggets, just dropping nuggets, brother.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. And
Thank
thank you
you.
all for watching. It has been a beautiful experience to be here today and to just sit together, being confused and trying to clear some stuff out. So confusion cleared. AI and HR can possibly work together. They can be
Absolutely.
partners. They can be friends. So thank you, friends, all so much. Have a lovely day and continue to watch, follow, share. So confused. Hey, before I leave, I can't forget something. I can't forget London has a project.
Thanks,
He thought
Brent.
I was gonna forget. He thought I was gonna forget. Come
I
on,
was
London.
like, if you forget that, because you have so much going on, and you're so awesome with all the
No,
work that you've been
I
doing.
do not. Come on, give it to us, brother. Let's
So
talk about the black couch.
yes, the Black Couch with London. Stay unbothered and hydrated. That will be the slogan for the podcast. Yeah, I cannot wait to launch this. We're probably going to launch it within the next 30 days or so. But it's a place where we will have real conversations, very very similar to this, right? But it will really focus on some personal things, those things that we don't necessarily talk to everyone about, but maybe those things that we have conversations with, our very close circle of folks. And even those conversations where it's, I don't want to say taboo, but where it might be taboo. This isn't a place where we're going to just gossip. No, that's not it. But I'll give some teasers. There are a few that I actually can't wait for. Of course, the first episode will be just about who the hell is London. So that'll be about, just getting to know me. The second episode, and I'll be really quick. One of the things that we always talk about or we look at is places where we work, right? Like we're around other people outside of our family, friends for at least 8 hours a day, whether we work remote or whether, hybrid or in office, what have you. You know, and from an HR person, maybe I shouldn't even mention this, but it happens, right? How do we really feel about, work wives, work husbands, right? What does
Oh,
that
yes.
look like, right? Because there have been instances where I know folks that work with their future husband or wife, like they met at work. And
Right, right.
now they are, husband and wife, two kids, a dog, picket fence, all of that, right? But that was 10, 15 years ago, where it wasn't
Mm,
so, I would say it wasn't spoken of as much.
mm-hmm.
Where I feel like now, is it really spoken of? And part of me would say yes, because we're so open to say work wife or work husband. But I think we also know that that's a joke, right? Or a term of endearment, right? But is it really a joke, right? There are a few instances, hey, that's my work wife, work husband. Then you think about like, okay,
Yeah,
you know where this
I
person
think there can
work.
be yeah, it can be a tease, it can be a flirt. you
Yeah.
know? And I think it can get kind of dangerous in situations
Absolutely.
where we're feeding a need that's not being met in the other place. So I can't wait for the Black Couch. I think it is going to be
Yeah.
amazing when it launches. I am going to let everyone know about it. And of
Absolutely.
course, you will be invited back again and again and again and again because I think you're a trusted voice. And,
You.
we all have a voice, and it's time that we all speak up. Just the regular people, your everyday
Yeah,
people,
this we every day. This we everyday
we
people. That's right.
everyday.
We everyday
We
people.
everyday people just having a conversation. So thank you all again so much for joining and take care. Have a great day. Bye. So confused.